Hey, I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Also, our podcast below in the description. Check that out.
Also, this video is brought to you by wineaccess.com/ham, John.
Yes, it is. Wineaccess.com/ham. Send a gift today, 20% off. Nice bottles, cheaper bottles. You can check and view any type of bottles you want on wineaccess.com/ham.
Your satisfaction is absolutely guaranteed.
That first two games is pretty ideal for a team coming off a tough season, just a team that needs to get a couple W's, under their arm here. But I think the stretch after those first two games, assuming Rodgers is on the team, from week 3 to week 10 is pretty freaking fantastic. Sunday Night Football Packers, Seattle. I mean, this is one of the best rivalries in the game. At Arizona, just when the Niners play the Cardinals, it's a really good game. Then they get a bye, lick their wounds a little bit early. I think ideally if you could choose in a 17-week season by, what would you say, like week 9, 10, 11 stretch?
Yep.
So it's a little early, but beggars can't be choosers. You are getting a game with a team that could win 13 games off the bye. So you're getting them at home. Indy, Sunday Night Football, that's non-division. That's probably my favorite 49er game of the year. Carson Wentz, the Colts,
Love it.
Sunday Night Football. That's awesome. At Chicago, give me Justin Fields. Wouldn't even mind Trey Lance. Justin Fields, Trey Lance. If I tell you right now that Trey Lance is starting that game and Justin Fields starting that game, how sweet is that game?
It's an incredible game. I mean, there are not a lot of hard sells on this schedule, right? In terms of like, why should I watch this game? And I'm not even talking about from a Niners perspective, just from an NFL perspective. It's not difficult really to sell many of these games. So you're right. I think that is the best stretch in terms of opponents. Green Bay, Seattle, Arizona, bye, Indy, Chicago, Arizona, the Rams. Bam, right there, right?
Because it kind of sucks that they don't have any Rams-Seattle game back-to-back. That always is a cool little 1-2 combo.
Yeah, but it's not ideal for them just because those games are taxing. And you know this year to have Stafford and Russ back-to-back could be difficult. I think the other part, if we want to talk about quote-unquote best part of the schedule, how about week 14 to week 18, the final 5 games? Now, best, here's what's good. They're playing a Sunday night game, Seattle week 13. Well, ideally you'd come home the week after that, or you'd have a bye the week after that. They don't have either. They're playing at Cincinnati, which I'll put this on a 1 to 10, 10 being good, 1 being bad is like a 5, right? Like if you had to play a game after the Cincinnati or after the Seattle Sunday night game on the road, you'd pick Cincinnati. You don't love that game, but okay, it could be worse coming off of the Seattle Sunday night game. Atlanta, we've talked about this, not easy.
They lost to him. They lost to him 2 years ago, the Super Bowl year. Remember, late in the season, they're a weird team to play late in the season because they're always destined for the top 10, but they still got sweet players.
Last game at the Stick, Atlanta probably almost got them, and then Navarro Bowman happened.
Yeah,
and Atlanta was bad that year. At Tennessee, Thursday night football. Okay, less than ideal. It's hard to sell this, but you finish Houston and at the Rams. I think the end of this schedule, the way we look at it, will be determined by what they've done in the first 13 weeks against their division. If they've built up a lead, if they're in first place against the division, this finish isn't terrible. If they have to catch up against the division and you're not playing any games head-to-heads except for the Rams week 18, not as good.
I forget who they played last year on Thursday night. I think it actually was the Packers because remember some of those guys were on the Corona list. And it was like, turns out they didn't get Corona, but it was a short week and they got screwed.
It was the Packers.
But that was at home. And the previous year, it was Arizona. So the last 2 years, they've been pretty lucky, right? They had a home game last year, and the Super Bowl year, Arizona, it just isn't that far, right? To me, if you were them and you said, hey, on your schedule, who would you want to play your Thursday night game? They'd be like, LA, but we'll take any of the 3 divisional games, like if we have to, right? It's just logistically, it's not that, if we're going to be on the road. I've been to Tennessee one time in Nashville. It's far, Guy. I mean, that's
pretty cold in December.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to snow, but it's definitely that's like you're not going to give them Atlanta or New York or something on Thursday night. That feels about as far as you can go on a Thursday night game. That's a borderline insane Thursday night game. Now I get the schedule guy would be like, "What am I supposed to be fucking perfect on every schedule?" Like, yeah, I hear you. I'm not trying to act like this is an easy thing to put together. I think Peter King has done deep dives before. It's hard. I get it. A lot of moving parts. That seems pretty crazy. Like if I'm the Niners right now, I like everything. I just go, that's pretty nuts. I can live with my bye being pretty early. Thursday night game, one thing I've been thinking a lot about just going into these schedule releases, the number one thing you look for more than your bye, where's my Thursday night game? Because if my Thursday night game's the first half of the year, I'm still a little fresh. Ideally, guy, you want your Thursday night game week 4, week 5, week 6. Just get it out of the way. If you're able to win, you basically get 2 buys.
Yeah, and you don't love, you are kind of playing catch up. Well, we can get to the difficult parts of the schedule. We want to talk.
But
about
I'm just saying that Thursday night game.
Yeah.
So if you win it, it's great because it serves as like another little half buy. But week 16, that far, that's pretty nuts. That's a far travel.
Yeah.
Like when I think Thursday night games, I think like New York, Philly, Buffalo, New England, Niners, Arizona. Like I don't think Niners, Tennessee. And I bet the schedule guy is like, I just ran out of spots, guys.
Good news, Tennessee's coming off a road game at the Steelers, if you want to find some positivity in that. I wish they were coming from the West Coast. But
I agree, but I'd say this, if you have the home Thursday night game, it's like that's a huge disadvantage in itself. I get you're coming off a road game, but still. You
road
just
game
get
against the Steelers. But yeah, I'm with you. I hear you.
But Pittsburgh and Nashville's that's not that far.
I'm just talking about the potential physicality of the game.
Agree.
And the importance of what that game could be really important in the AFC playoff race.
Here's where the Niners lucky would be strong, but when you just draw these divisions, you get the Lions, you get the Jacksonville Jags, you get Houston. Like you get 3 teams that I think the teams I just listed, they're going to be competing for the number 1 overall pick, right? When I say the number 1 overall pick, I think most people be like Houston's going to suck, right?
Yeah. And I think that's probably ultimately the best part of this schedule is the part that we already knew, which is that you've got games on here that if you've got your act together, right? If you just have your act together, there are 4 wins you should be able to put in the win column right now. Houston, Jacksonville, Philly, and Detroit.
And really in Cincinnati.
Cincinnati 5, yeah.
You have a stretch here. This would be the pushback. If I'm the schedule guy and you go, okay, you two, you're bitching about the Thursday night game. I gave you Cincinnati after Seattle Sunday night game. I gave you Cincinnati, Atlanta, and then, I give you a Thursday night game, but then I give you Houston. So that's a stretch. If you're able to pull that Thursday night game off, it's not crazy to think you get bank 4 wins right there and just kind of go all in the last week against the Rams, maybe for the division. Who knows? Yeah. But you can't be like, okay, you're complaining about the Thursday night game. I just gave you Cincinnati and Atlanta back-to-back weeks. Everyone's blowing Kyle and Trey Lance and the Niners. Like, you should win those 2 games. I'm like, yeah, you're right.
The week you mentioned it, the week 18 is potentially really good too. Now, a lot of times these last week of the season games can mean, people are getting rested, whatever. But even though we don't get what we like, which is what the NFC East has, they're all playing each other down the stretch. You do get that game, week 18. That's potentially a great game. Would
2 years ago, Niners Seattle was flexed into the Sunday night for all the marbles. So, to me, if that game is for the NFC West or it's hard to say if it's for a playoff position. It would depend what all the other games are for, right? If one game's for a division, but that to me already has like flex potential, right? If there's a lot on the line for those 2 teams.